As the owner of a website design agency and as somebody who has worked on or built or reviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of websites for great businesses, great churches, great nonprofits, what I can tell you is if your website isn't actually giving you sales, leads, donations, partnerships, visits, odds are you don't actually need to be adding more things to your website in order to actually get more traction and get more action out of your website. In fact, there are probably some things that are already existing on your website that actually need to be removed. Things that are turning people off, confusing people. So in this video, I'm gonna be walking through these 7 things that I would recommend actually removing completely from your website if you actually wanna get more leads, get more donations, sales, and partnerships. So the first thing that I would recommend removing from your website is an over-the-top color palette. Now, we know colors actually speak volumes, and certain colors and color combinations can actually elicit certain feelings and responses from your website visitor. In fact, this is why many banks use the color blue in their logo and in their marketing materials, because blue is a color that elicits feelings of trust. There's a reason why McDonald's and Hardee's and Arby's and Burger King and Wendy's are all using colors like red and orange and yellow. Red is a color that really appeals to feelings of passion and urgency and appetite. And yellow is a color that appeals to feelings of satisfaction and happiness. So colors are important. You want to have the right colors that are communicating the right things on your website. The problem is many people, the big mistake that we see all the time is an over-the-top color palette. Way too many colors that don't work well together, that aren't communicating the right things. And people love to express themselves. And they think that, hey, adding more colors to my website is a great way to actually express how I'm feeling or how I feel about my brand or what we're actually doing as an organization. The problem is if you have too many colors on your website, it's going to distract somebody, make them think and feel the wrong things. And really at the end of the day, too many colors on a website can just be exhausting. This can feel especially daunting if you have the backgrounds of each section being different colors. So it's just a red background followed by a blue background section, followed by a yellow background section. So again, it's just a lot, and it's a lot for the eye to actually sift through and for the brain to just cognitively navigate. And so what we typically recommend is having most of your background sections be white or very light gray or something like that. And then using your color palette for icons or for buttons or for other accents on your website. So again, think of your color palette not as, hey, we're trying to fit in as many colors as we can on our website, but really we're trying to give a lot of good margin and white space in the sections of our website. And we're trying to use our color palette to complement those sections by incorporating the colors into icons, buttons, and other accents on the website. The other reason we want to really pull back our color palette and not overwhelm somebody with all of the different colors on our website is we don't want our colors to dominate the website. We want them to accentuate the things that we're actually wanting to funnel them into. So for instance, schedule a free call, get a free quote, contact us, get started, all those different buttons. Those are great use cases for where you can include some of the different colors of your brand because you want their eye to navigate toward those buttons so that they'll actually take the first step. If you have colors all over your website, they might get paralysis of the analysis and they might not know what to do next. Okay, the next thing I would recommend removing from your website if you actually want to get more leads, get more donations, and get more sales is remove your complicated navigation menu. What we found after building hundreds of websites for great businesses, churches, and nonprofits is there really is a happy medium or a sweet spot with the amount of navigation tabs at the top of a website. We would recommend anywhere between 5 and 7. The problem is, it is very common for a business to want to list all of their services right there in the top navigation menu. There's way too many options. It's hard to know even what to click because there's so many different options competing for your attention. The same is true for churches. You don't need to list all of your different ministries. The same is true for nonprofits. If you have a lot of different fundraising events or a lot of different ways that people can get involved, you don't need to list all of those in the top navigation menu. What we recommend again is thinking through what are the 5 to 7 pages that people might want the most easy access to that we really want to funnel somebody into, and then put those at the very top of the website. Now your other tabs, your other pages, I'm not saying those aren't important, but you can create subfolders to where if somebody hovers over one of those primary 5 to 7 tabs at the top of the website, then there could be a drop down to where then they can see all of the other sub items as well. Another great spot to put accessory pages or accessory tabs that don't necessarily need to be at the top of the website is in your website's footer. Okay, the next thing to remove from your website is complicated copy and messaging. Right above the fold of your website is the #1 spot to really showcase who you are, what you do, and how it can actually benefit somebody. The problem is a lot of churches, they will just say something like welcome home, and that's it. It's very vague, or they'll go way over the top and they'll add way too much content, way too much copy, and it's a paragraph of information that nobody actually wants to read. In the business world, you might put a lot of complicated industry-specific jargon in that above the fold section, or even as you're scrolling down your homepage, and people don't actually know what any of that terminology actually means. The fact is, you know everything about your business. You have what is referred to as the curse of knowledge. You are the expert. You have a PhD in your nonprofit, in your business, in your church, but the website visitor coming to your website that you're trying to assist and trying to help doesn't have a PhD. In fact, they probably have a 5th grade education in what you do, why you do it, the services that you're offering. And so you want to make sure that you're actually dumbing down the copy and messaging on your website in plain English to where any person can understand the value that you're actually going to offer to them. We recommend, especially in that above the fold section before you scroll down once on the homepage of your website, really answering the questions, who are you, what do you do, and how are you actually making somebody's life better? And then as you're scrolling down the website, we want to make sure that we're not just talking all about us, how long we've been in business, our great customer service, how our great uncle founded the company in 1985. We want to make sure that we're really highlighting the customer's pain points and friction and problems. So again, whether you're a business or a nonprofit or a church, you want to be talking about the struggle, the pain points. What's the reason that somebody actually landed on your website in the first place? Talk more about the end user, more about your website visitor, and less about yourself. Okay, the next thing I would remove from your website immediately today, if you can, is overly cheesy, obvious stock photos. Now, I get it. Not everybody can hire a professional photographer or videographer to come out and get really great B-roll of you and your actual building and your actual team and your actual customers. But there are places you can go aside from iStock Photo that can give you some really lifelike, realistic photos. One is unsplash.com. They're not a sponsor. Another is pexels.com, again, not a sponsor, but these are great tools and great resources because it is a library of photos that is curated by real people. They're uploading actual photos of real happy smiling people. There are aerial shots, there's community shots, there's images and photos of phones and laptops and so many other things. So regardless of what industry you're actually in, you'll find some really great resources there. Now you can use iStock Photo. The key is you don't want to have a overly obvious cheesy stock photo with a white background or a red background or a blue background behind the person. So anything that just feels like an over-the-top, too happy, too smiley, exaggerated kind of photo, we want to eliminate those kind of photos from our website because the website visitor that's coming to your website is going to sniff it out. They're going to know this is not a real photo of a real customer. And if they think that you're being deceptive with the kinds of photos and imagery that you're using on your website, they're also going to kind of second guess and wonder, what else are they being deceptive about? Their promises to me, their copy, their messaging. So again, very important that we eliminate some of these overly stocky, fake, cheesy stock photos so that your website feels more real, more authentic. It's going to earn more trust from your website visitor, which will hopefully result in more sales, more leads, and more donations. Okay, the next thing to remove from your website is annoyingly aggressive pop-ups. Now, don't get me wrong, pop-ups are great. We use them in our business for our website design agency. But if you have too many pop-ups, and especially the ones where as soon as you go to a page, a pop-up instantly appears, and then the next time you revisit that same page, it appears again. And then the next time you come to that same page, it appears again. Or even worse, you go to different pages on the same website and every page has the same instant pop-up. It feels like anytime somebody's trying to navigate through your website and they're being funneled through your website, even if they're being funneled appropriately down the channels you want them to be funneled, they keep having to exit out of this same pop-up. So how are pop-ups used well? Well, you can set a delay on your pop-up to where if somebody is scrolling down your website, after 5 seconds, the pop-up generates. Or you can make it to where it's triggered by how far somebody has scrolled down the page. After they get 50% down the page and they scrolled halfway down the page, then there's a trigger and the pop-up, pops up. But we want to make sure that we're not being too aggressive. You can also set it to where it has a display condition where it only shows 3 times per week to the same user or something like that. That way, if somebody is interested in purchasing your services, they're going to your website, they might have to exit out of it 1, 2, or 3 times, but then that's it. They won't be annoyed unless they come to your website again a month later. So there's a lot of different settings, a lot of different things you can apply in terms of display conditions for pop-ups, but what you don't want are pop-ups where somebody is just constantly being annoyed because it's going to turn them off and make them want to go somewhere else. The next thing to remove, or really to replace, are vague call to action buttons. We've talked about it before in other videos. In fact, we have an entire YouTube video dedicated to this topic alone, but there is power in the right kind of call to action button on your website. It should be the thing that draws somebody to want to click it in order to actually take the next step with your brand. The problem is it's very common for websites to just have a call to action button that just says contact us. So the main call to action everywhere all over your website is just contact us, there's a couple different problems with this. Number one, it's way overdone. People see that all over the place, so they're a little bit desensitized to it. So it doesn't actually make them want to click it. But number two, it's very vague. There's no actual clear outcome. If I click this button, I'm going to contact them, but what am I actually going to get out of it? So we recommend including a call to action button that has the strategy of including some sort of very clear outcome for the website visitor. So as an example, the button might say schedule a free consultation or get a free quote. They know if they click that button, they're going to get something out of it. They're going to get a free quote. So again, remove the vague and generic buttons from your website and replace them with intentionally crafted buttons that actually make people want to click. Okay, next up, remove the unorganized text blocks from your website. I've seen it hundreds of times before, just walls and walls of text, paragraph after paragraph as you're scrolling down the homepage of a website. And I guarantee you nobody is sifting through all of that content. These days, people aren't reading websites, they're skimming websites. And we always say create clarity, capture clicks. If you actually want somebody to actually click the buttons to then funnel them into the next step in working with your brand, you need to make sure that you're being very clear. So more content is not always the right thing. Sometimes you need to pare back the content, be thinking through how can we actually organize these text blocks in such a way to where they're actually less content, but it's more clear. And I'd also recommend just breaking things up into chunks or sections or columns so that it's not just walls of text that are just all kind of bleeding together and blending together. You could even have an associated icon with each card of text or each block of text so that it just feels like it's more organized, more neat, and more intentional. So again, if your website just has paragraph after paragraph, tons of text, I guarantee you nobody's reading it. Be thinking through how can we actually pare down the text so that there's less text in volume, but then with the text that we have left, what can we do to actually visually place it accordingly to where it doesn't all just run together and blur together, but everything feels placed strategically and intentionally. But those are just the things to remove from your website. What about the things that you can actually add to your website to actually get more clicks, get more traction, get more donations and sales and partnerships out of your website? Well, you can get my brand new free course, the Homepage Messaging Makeover. It's absolutely free, and basically it walks you through from the very top of a website all the way to the very bottom of a website. What are the recommended sections that actually are going to get you more traction and more action out of the homepage of your website? If you want to get the free course, you can go to ritchey-creative.com/makeover. It's a 4-part video series with an accompanying PDF checklist. This way you know exactly what to add to your website, how to optimize the different sections of your homepage to get a higher return on investment from your organization's website. Well, hopefully this was a helpful and beneficial video. I also just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who likes these videos and is subscribed to the channel. It means a ton to me personally, so thank you so much. Remember, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Stay creative, and we'll catch you next time.